Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The wind carried the scent of fresh earth and the distant cry of birds over the hills of Tart, where Thrall stood, his green skin gleaming in the afternoon light. Below him, the newly rebuilt Orsage village buzzed with life. Children chased each other around the towering huts, their laughter mingling with the sounds of hammers and anvil. The Orcus had worked tirelessly to create this home, a place of peace after so many years of war, and yet deep in Thrall, Sightheart, and unease brewed. For so long, the Orcus had survived on violence, thriving in war, but now what was their purpose? What path did they follow without the drums of battle to guide them? Thrall clenched his fist around the handle of his warhammer, Doomhammer, its weight familiar, a reminder of the bloodshed that had brought his people to this moment. A voice behind him broke through his thoughts. Still brooding, I see. Thrall turned to find Drekkentar, his old mentor and the wisest shaman of their people, hobbling toward him, leaning heavily on his staff. The old oracle's eyes, though clouded with age, still burned with the fire of the element. His presence, as always, was grounding, like the earth beneath Thrall's feet. I am not brooding, old friend, Thrall replied, though he knew it was a lie. I am thinking. Drekkentar chuckled, the sound low and rumbling, thinking about the future, no doubt. You had always been burdened with more worries than most, but perhaps there is something more at work here. Thrall raised an eyebrow, curious. What do you mean? The shaman's smile faded, replaced by a solemn expression. I had a vision, a prophecy, Thrall, one that concerns the future of the Orcus, your future. He tapped his staff on the ground as if to emphasize the weight of his word. Thrall's heart quickened, though he had great respect for the shamanic arts. He had learned to temper his expectations when it came to vision. They were powerful, yes, but often cryptic and open to interpretation. Still, if Drekkentar had seen something, it was worth listening to. What did you see? Thrall asked, his voice low. A great change is coming, Drekkentar said, his eyes narrowing. But to understand it, you must seek out the ancient shamanic site hidden in the mountain. There the elements will reveal to you the true origin of the Orcas and our destiny. Only by facing this truth can you lead our people to their future. Thrall frowned, considering the implications. The Orcas had always revered the elements and their shamans, but the idea of an ancient site that could reveal their true destiny seemed far-fetched. Still, if there was even a chance that this prophecy held truth, he had to pursue it. Before she could respond, another figure appeared from the shadows of a nearby hut, tall, cloaked in black, and moving with the grace of a predator. Thrall's hand instinctively went to the hilt of Doomhammer, but he stopped when he recognized the figure. Garona, he said, his voice a mix of surprise and suspicion. The half-orc, half-elf assassin moved closer, her piercing green eyes locked on Thrall. You are not an easy man to find, Warchief. I am not a Warchief anymore, Thrall corrected, not in the way I used to be. Titles don't matter, Garena said, her voice sharp as steel. What matters is that I've come to warn you. Drekkentar's brow furrowed as he regarded the assassin warily. What kind of warning? Garona's eyes slipped between them before she spoke. There's a new threat rising. A faction, one that seeks to exploit the divisions within the Horde. They have gathered strength and they're replanning something big, an attack on your people while you're distracted with rebuilding. Thrall felt a chill run down his spine. Despite everything they had fought for, there were always those who sought to tear down what the Orcus had built. But the timing of Garona's arrival was suspicious. Could this be connected to Drekkentar's prophecy? I was on my way to a shamanic site, Thrall said, his mind racing. Drekkentar believes it holds the key to our future. Garena scoffed. You don't have time for visions and prophecy. If you don't deal with this threat now, there won't be a future for your people. Thrall's jaw tightened. He was torn between his duty as a leader and the pull of the prophecy that Drekkentar had spoken of. Both paths seemed equally urgent, yet he knew that choosing one meant neglecting the other, and the weight of that decision pressed down on him, heavy as the warhammer at his side. Thrall Dressar softly stepping closer. The elements have shown me the way. I cannot make this choice for you, but know that the fate of our people rests on your shoulders as it always has. Garona's expression softened, though only slightly. I don't trust visions, but I trust you. Do what you think is right. But remember, whatever you choose, you'll be facing enemies on all sides. Thrall stood in silence for a long moment, weighing his option. He had never been one to shy away from battle, but the idea of discovering a deeper truth about his people, about their very existence, was a temptation he could not ignore. At last, he spoke. "We will journey to the shamanic site," Thrall decided, his voice firm. "But Garona, I need you to lead our scouts and keep watch. If there is a threat, I want to know about it the moment they make a move." Garona nodded, understanding the gravity of his decision. "I'll do what I can." With that, she disappeared into the shadows once more, leaving Thrall and Drakkar alone on the hill. Thrall turned to his mentor. "Let's have us prepare for the journey. I have a feeling this one. Be easy." Drakkar smiled, though there was a sadness in his eyes. Nothing worth finding ever did. The path to the mountains was treacherous, winding through dense forests and jagged cliffs. Thrall led a small group of loyal warriors, including Drakkar, as they navigated the dangerous terrain. Every step felt heavier than the last, not just because of the physical strain, but because of the weight of what lay ahead. Drakkar had said that the site would reveal the truth of the Orcus' origin, a truth that could change everything Thrall thought he knew about his people. But as the days passed and the journey grew more difficult, Thrall couldn't help but wonder if they were chasing a ghost. "We were close," Drakkar said one evening as they made camp beneath the stars. The shaman's breath was labored, and Thrall could see the toll the journey had taken on the old orc. "Do you think this place will give us the answers we need?" Thrall asked, staring into the flickering flames of the campfire. Drakkar closed his eyes, communing with the elements. The elements are restless. They sense a great change coming, but they are not the ones who will decide our fate. That is for you. Thrall didn't respond. He wasn't sure what to say. All his life, he had been a warrior, a leader. But now he faced a challenge, unlike any other challenge that could not be solved with strength or strategy, but with wisdom and understanding. As the fire crackled and the stars wheeled overhead, Thrall couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them, something ancient and powerful. The following morning, they reached the base of the mountain where the ancient shamanic site was said to be hidden. The air here was thick with magic, the very ground humming with energy that set Thrall's skin tingling. Drakkar guided them to a narrow path that wound upward, disappearing into the mist-shrouded peak. "This is the place," Drakkar whispered, his voice reverent. Thrall could feel it too, the presence of the elements, stronger here than anywhere else. It was as if the mountain itself was alive, watching them, waiting. They ascended the path in silence, the air growing colder with every step. After what felt like hours, they emerged onto a plateau where ancient stone pillars rose from the earth, like the bones of a forgotten god. At the center of the plateau was a large circular altar, carved with runes that Thrall recognized as the language of the shaman. "This is it," Drakkar said, his voice barely audible, "the place where it all began." Thrall approached the altar, his heart pounding as he placed his hand on the cold stone. A surge of energy coursed through him, and his vision blurred. He heard the whispers of the elements, not in words, but in feelings, a deep primal force that spoke of creation and destruction, of balance and chaos. In that moment, Thrall saw it, the Orcus' true origin. They had not always been a warlike people. Long ago, they had lived in harmony with the elements, their shan, ants guiding them in peaceful coexistence with the land. But something had changed. Dark forces had corrupted them, turning them into warriors bent on conquest and bloodshed. That was the Orcus, cursed. Their destiny had been twisted by forces beyond their control. But now Thrall had a choice. He could continue down the path of violence, or he could guide his people back to their true nature, to the harmony they had once known. As the vision faded, Thrall stumbled back from the altar, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "Do you see it?" Drakkar asked, his voice filled with awe. "I saw it," Thrall replied, his voice trembling. "I saw everything." Thrall stood in the midst of the ancient shamanic site, his hands still trembling from the overwhelming vision. The truth of the Orcus' origin, their corruption, and fall from harmony was more profound than he had imagined. As the last echoes of the vision faded, he felt a weight on his shoulders, heavier than any battle he'd fought before. It was not just the burden of leadership, but the burden of knowing that his people's future rested on his decisions, now more than ever. Drakkar stood quietly at Thrall's side, watching him with wise old eyes. The shaman did not need to ask what Thrall had seen. He could sense the shift in the elements around them, the ripple of destiny unfolding. "We must return," Thrall said, his voice hoarse but steady. Try, our people need to hear the truth. They need to know who we really are. The old shaman nodded. The elements have revealed what you needed to see. But remember, Thrall, it is not enough to know the truth. You must guide them to embrace it, and that will be the greatest challenge of all. Thrall clenched his fist around the handle of Doomhammer. His heart still raced with the raw energy of the vision, but he knew the journey had only just begun. The Orcas had been warriors for so long, and their culture had been shaped by blood and conquest. To turn them away from that path would not be easy, but if they were to survive, if they were to thrive, they had to change. As they made their way back down the mountain, the weight of Thrall's thoughts was interrupted by Garona, who appeared from the shadows like a whisper of wind. Her sharp gaze flicked between Thrall and Drakkar, sensing the gravity of their return. The situation has worsened, she said, her voice low. You're the faction I warned you about. They're moving faster than we thought. If we don't act soon, they'll launch their attack on the village. You can't afford to wait any longer. Thrall's jaw clenched. He had expected this, but the timing couldn't be worse. The vision had shown him the path forward, but now the threat of violence loomed once more, threatening everything they had built. How many are there? Thrall asked, his voice calm but urgent. Enough to cause serious damage. Garona replied, Dear, they've gathered a group of rebels, disgruntled Orcas who think the old ways are the only way forward. They want blood, Thrall, and they'll stop at nothing to get it. Thrall stared into the distance, his mind racing. He couldn't let his people fall back into chaos and war, not after everything they had achieved. But he also couldn't ignore the immediate danger. Garona was right, they couldn't afford to wait. We'll stop them, Thrall said, determination hardening in his chest. But we want to do it their way. No more senseless bloodshed. We will fight if we must, but this ends with us showing them a new way. Garona's expression was skeptical. You really think you can reason with them after all they've been through? I have to try, Thrall said. If we don't we'll be trapped in this cycle of violence forever. I won. Can't let that happen. With Garona leading the way, they made the journey back to the village swiftly. As they neared the outskirts, the tension in the air was palpable. Thrall could feel it, the simmering anger of the rebels, the fear of those who didn't want to return to the old way. His people were at a crossroads, and the wrong move now could doom them all. When they arrived at the village, Thrall found the rebels already gathered at the gate. Their leader, a hulking orc named Gorak, stood at the front, his arms crossed and a sneer on his face. Gorak had always been one of the more aggressive Orcas, one who thrived on conflict and saw peace as a weakness. His followers stood behind him, their weapons drawn, ready for a fight. And we've waited long enough, Thrall, Gorak shouted, his voice echoing across the village. You've led us to this soft, weak future, and we're redone with it. We Orcas warriors, conquerors, it's time. We remembered who we are. Thrall stepped forward, calm but unyielding. I know who we are, Gorak. I know our past, and I've seen our future. If we return to the old ways, we will destroy ourselves. The world has changed, and so must we. Gorak snarled, his eyes blazing with anger. Tari, you've lost your spine. Thrall, you talk about peace. But what has it gotten us? We're vulnerable, weak if we don't fight. We'll be overrun. We fight to protect, not to conquer, Thrall said firmly. Sorry me for I've seen the truth of our path. We were not always like this. Once we lived in harmony with the elements, with the land. We were peaceful and we thrived. But dark forces twisted us, made us into something we were never meant to be. Now we have a chance to break that cycle. You speak like a shaman, not a leader. Gorak roared. Yerakra, the Orcas need a warrior, not a dreamer. Thrall raised Doomhammer not in threat, but as a symbol of his resolve. I will always be a warrior, Gorak, but I will not fight for senseless bloodshed. I fight for our people, for our future, and if you truly care about the Orcas, you will do the same. For a moment, there was silence. The tension was thick, the air crackling with anticipation of violence. Thrall could see the doubt in the eyes of some of Gorak's followers. They had lived through so much war, and the promise of peace, of something better, was tempting, but fear of change held them back. Gorak's face twisted in rage. You're weak, Thrall, and I'll show you just how weak you are. With a roar, Gorak charged, his massive axe raised high. Thrall braced himself ready for the attack, but he didn't raise his hammer. He couldn't. This wasn't a battle he could win with force. In that moment, as Gorak bore down on him, Thrall felt the elements stir around him. The ground beneath his feet trembled, and the air thickened with the power of the earth. He reached out not with his hand, but with his spirit, connecting with the elemental forces that had always been his guide. A wall of stone erupted from the ground between Thrall and Gorak, stopping the rebel leader in his track. Thrall stepped forward, his voice calm but filled with authority. "This is not the way, Gorak. The elements themselves reject your path. I do not want to kill you, but I will not let you destroy what we built to tell." Gorak scrambled to his feet, fury blazing in his eyes. But as he looked around, he saw that his followers were no longer standing with him. They had seen Thrall, or had felt the presence of the elements, and they knew that Gorak's Selway was doomed. With a final snarl of defiance, Gorak threw down his axe. "We've won this round, Thrall, but this isn't tea over." "It can be," Thrall said, quietly, "if you let it." But Gorak wasn't listening. He stormed off, his followers trailing behind him. Thrall watched them go, sadness tugging at his heart. He had hoped to convince Gorak to show him that there was a better way, but not everyone could be reached. Dragman approached, his old face lined with weariness. "Harry, you did what you could." "Thrall, some battles are not meant to be won with words alone." Thrall nodded, though the weight of leadership still pressed down on him. "We must be better than this. If we cannot change, then everything I saw, everything the elements showed me will be for nothing. You have planted the seeds of change. It will take time, but they will grow. Your people will follow you. Thrall, they believe in you." Thrall looked out over the village where the orcas were beginning to gather, their eyes filled with a mixture of hope and fear. They had seen what had happened with Gorak, had felt the shift in the air. They were waiting, watching to see what their leader would do next. Thrall stepped forward, his voice carrying over the crowd. "Hero, I have seen our future, and it is not one of war. We have been warriors for so long, we have forgotten who we truly are. But the elements have shown me the truth. We were once a peaceful people, living in harmony with the land, and we can be that again." The crowd murmured, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Thrall raised Doomhammer, his grip firm. "I will not lead you down the path of destruction. I will lead you to a future where we thrive, not through conquest, but through wisdom. The world is changing, and we must change with it. I ask you to follow me, not as a conqueror, but as a leader who seeks a better way." For a long moment, there was silence. Then, one by one, the orca began to nod, their expressions softening. They trusted Thrall, believed in him. And in that moment, Thrall knew that he had made the right choice. The path ahead would not be easy. There would be more challenges, more threats to face. But for the first time in a long while, Thrall felt hope. His people had a chance, a real chance, to break free from the cycle of violence and find a new destiny. And he would lead them there.